given victory to Syria. He was also a mighty man of valor, but a leper, and the Syrians had gone out on raids and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. Then she said to her mistress,
"If only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy."
And Naaman went in and told his master.
"Thus and thus," said the girl who is from the land of Israel.
Then the king of Syria said,
"Go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel."
So he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. Then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said,
Now be advised, when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of his leprosy.
And it happened, when the king of Israel read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said,
Am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends a man to me to heal him of his leprosy? Therefore please consider, and see how he seeks a quarrel with me.
So it was, when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king.
Why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel.
Then Naaman went with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him.
Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean.
But Naaman became furious and went away.
Indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place and heal the leprosy. Are not Abana and Apharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?
So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near and spoke to him.
"My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says to you, 'Wash and be clean'?"
So he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh was restored, like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his aides, and came and stood before him.
Indeed, now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Now therefore, please take a gift from your servant.
As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive nothing.
And he urged him to take it, but he refused.
Then, if not, please let your servant be given 2 new loaves of earth. For your servant will no longer offer either burnt offering or sacrifice to other gods, but to the Lord. Yet in this thing may the Lord pardon your servant. When my master goes into the temple of Rimmon to worship there, and he leans on my hand, when I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord please pardon your servant in this thing.
Go in peace.
So he departed from him a short distance.
All right, now. You know the story. So now, you tell me now. So how about it? How many times have you heard this story? Dozens of times, right? Many sermons about this. So what can you tell me? Is there a problem with this story or no? Is there anything that, highlights or stand out for you? Or is there? What can you tell me? Naveen? Sometimes it's more simple than you expect. Okay, what else? What can you tell me about this story? You've heard many times. You told me. You see, I just got you in a trap. You've heard this. Yes, yes. Okay, so tell me now. What's up with this story? No, no, it's the first time I hear this. Never understood this story, actually. All these sermons, never understood it. What's up with that? Yes, please.
The prophet of God did not put his hands to pray for Naman, just like the ordinary way that we know. But he just told him to go and do something for him.
Okay. What else? We often complain before we obey. Okay.
You shouldn't help others expecting them to give you back something in return.
Okay. All right. You are all reading with your own pink sunglasses. That's why you don't see. You have to remove your glasses and put some new glasses. Okay, I'm going to do the reading again with you, but now I want you to wear Naman glasses. And once you're reading with Naman glasses, you will see what he sees, not what you see. Because usually if you read again, and I'm sure if you will read again, you will remember this. What happens in the end? What happens in the end? Naaman, he says, please, man of God, prophet of God, may the Lord forgive me, because even though I know that there is one God, the true God in Israel, I am going where? To the temple of whom? I am going to the temple of Rimmon, and I'm going to do what? I am going to bow and worship with my Lord, and please, may God forgive me. And then what does the prophet say? That's idolatry. He knows about idolatry. He knows that there is a true God. And you know, each country had their own God. We had Baal. Rimmon was the god of the Syrians. Amun-Ha was the god of Egypt. So the prophet just looks at him. Okay, you're asking God to forgive you because you are an idolater? Go in peace. Would you say that? Is that what you would answer? The person comes to you and then the person is miraculously healed by God in a miraculous way, and then he just, okay, Maverick, so now please forgive me, but I have to go now because I have to bow down before Buddha now. And then just go in peace. Is that what would you say? Okay, let's go back to the story now. Wearing, Naaman sunglasses, and let's see what he sees and try to understand why did the prophet say, go in peace. All right, let's take a look. Verse 1. What does verse 1 tell us? Naaman, commander of the army of king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master. So who was Naaman? It was just like someone that's no importance. Who was he? He was an honorable, he was the general of the army of Syria. He was an important man. He was a very considered man, famous man, and also he was a man used by God, because this is how this story starts. By him, the Lord had given victory to Syria. Who was Syria? Well, they were the enemies of Israel. They were the bad guys. They were not the good guys. And the story starts saying, whoever wrote this story started telling us, hey, you know what, Lotta? I know we all like good guys, but you see, God was with the bad guys. And God gave victory to the bad guys, not the good guys. So the story already starts spinning your mind upside, oh, this is not what I'm thinking. Yes, it's not what you're thinking. Let's keep on moving. So let's move on. Because he says, he was an honorable man, he was very famous, he was the general, but what? A leper. You see, in the Old Testament, there were at least 7 different diseases, skin diseases, that people didn't know what was it, so they just called that leper. And leper was a problem because we didn't have the technology that we have today. So when a person was found with leper, this person could not keep on working and living in society. This person had to be ostracized, segregated from the group. So for somehow we can understand that Naaman's problem, he had leper, but it was not in an advanced stage, in a sense that he was still the general working for the king. So he knew about it. That was bothering him. He was a very honorable man, but he had a problem. He had something. But you see, they were the enemies of the Israelites. And in one of their wars that they were fighting against each other, they had the chance to bring a slave girl from the land of Israel. So they are fighting against Israel. They are the bad guys, the Israelites, the Hebrews, they're the good guys. God's with them. They're the chosen nation. But somehow the story starts telling us, no, God was with Naaman, the leper one. And remember, leper in those times, or even physical disease, it was seen, and until today, it's seen by punishment by God. If you have this, oh, it's because you deserve it, it's because you're sinful. So somehow the story starts telling us, no, it's not the way you see it, because God was with him. And the enemies, they won the battle, and they took a little girl from Israel, and this little slave was with them. Her parents did the homework, They taught the girl in God's way. So even though she's a slave there, when she has the chance, she hears people talking about the problem. Probably they're eating at dinner, and then Naman's telling his wife, I don't know what I'm going to do. Look at this. It's increasing. I can see all these spots and this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then the lady's there serving him. And then she has the chance. Oh, I know that there is in Samaria, there is a prophet there. I know that there is a man of God, and I think he can help you. So what happens is that she tells this story to the lady tells this story to the prophet, and then what happens is that, verse 4, the prophet goes on and to his master. Who is his master? The king. So imagine now, the general, he goes to the king and he says, hey, thus and thus said the girl. There is this little slave girl in my house, king. Your Majesty, she says that your general can be healed. But we have to go to the enemy. We have to go to Israel. And you see, he's so important to the king that the king decides to do what? The king of Syria, he decides to write a document. He decides to write a letter and say, hey, listen, bring a pen for the king now. Okay, I'm the king of I'm sending now my servant so you can heal him. Imagine Donald Trump sending a letter to his enemy. He's sending a letter to North Korea. I am sending now whoever. They're enemies. They are fighting against each other. And then the king says, okay, here, Naman, listen, you take this letter in the name of the king, but also I want you to take some gifts, Just take something so, it's a gesture of good faith that, we want to be friends, we need their help. So they gave Naaman what? 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothes. Well, you know how much this handmade dress in Jordan, do you know how much does that cost? The ones that the ladies, they wear, once in a lifetime. Actually, they wear more than once because it's so expensive that they can repeat. It's okay to repeat. It costs more than 1,000 GDs. Did you know that? It's very expensive. So he took 10 of those. 10 clothes, changes of clothes. Let's take this as a gift. And maybe you don't understand because you cannot grasp because you're not wearing the proper lenses. Because when he talks about 10 talents of silver, you're like, okay, how much is that? Okay, so let's bring into our today's currency so we can understand. 10 talents of silver, we're talking about 340 kilos of silver. And 6,000 shekels, we're not talking about the coins, because they didn't have coins until the exile. So we're talking about pieces of gold. Bigger, smaller, anyway, 52 kilos. Last night, I went online to see how much does a kilo of silver and a kilo of gold do they cost. So we can do the math. 340 kilos of silver plus 52 kilos of gold. How much was Naaman carrying? Okay, the dresses, the clothes, expensive. But let's think about the silver. Okay, so silver, he had almost $200,000 with him. And in gold, he had, if we put that in money, he had approximately $2 million in gold. Okay, some scholars, they don't say it's this much because they bring it down to thousands of dollars. Still, I understand and I believe that if you are taking a gift to the king, you are not giving him a falafel sandwich. You're just going to bring something that it's valuable, right? You're not just going to go there, here, I brought 5 falafel for you, just have one. No. You need the help. You need the enemy. So you need to impress. You need to do something. So this is what Naaman was doing. And now, let me ask you, how do you think Naaman was traveling? Do you think he got a little donkey like the ones we take in Petra to go up the monastery? No. I believe that even his camels had air conditioner by that time. Because, he was not by himself. He had a group of people with him. He had the hope, just go ahead of me because I'm going to go to the back. Oh, who are those people? The chariots and the horses and the AC camels. They're coming. Yes. We are coming because Naaman's coming from Syria. He has the ladder. He has gold. He has millions. He has... Oh, what's this? And then the king of Israel, what does he do? All right. Bring him in. What does he want? What does he need? Why is the enemy coming here to talk to me like this? And then he comes in. He talks to him. Verse 7. When the king reads about this, here's the document. Donald Trump signed this. Okay, let's read here. King of Israel, we've heard that there is a man there, a prophet called Elisha, and so, and thus, and please heal my servant. You know what the king did? He tore his clothes